The click of handcuffs locking shut typically signals the close of a chapter for someone facing charges in court. Yet, on a muggy Tuesday in a Chicago district courtroom, that very noise ignited a harrowing ordeal for the one wearing the uniform. Officer Brenda Hatcher strode toward courtroom 302, certain she embodied authority, eager to haul Terrell Banks off to jail for an offense he hadn't committed. Unaware, the presiding judge had kept tabs on her for months. Unaware, the cameras captured every moment, and utterly oblivious that within 20 minutes, the bailiff would be securing her own arms. This tale unfolds as a tale of a tainted shield clashing against the unyielding hammer of accountability. Terrell Banks glanced at his watch again, the fourth time in under 5 minutes. The sleek stainless steel timepiece was a present from his wife, Linda, celebrating his certification as a structural engineer. It read, 8:45 a.m. The corridors of the Cook County Circuit Court hummed with the subtle undercurrent of tension that lingers in spots where liberty hangs in the balance. Tyrell had no involvement in wrongdoing. He was there to address a zoning issue. At 42, he cut a sharp figure in a tailored charcoal suit, hugging his sturdy frame, clutching a leather briefcase stuffed with designs for a South Side community hub. He was the sort who constructed futures. He reinforced bases. He never shattered rules. But in the eyes of Officer Brenda Hatcher, who lounged by the snack machine beside the security scanners, Terrell Banks wasn't a builder. He was prey. With 15 years on the job, Brenda treated her badge like impenetrable plating, though it had long since tarnished. Around the station they called her the Hammer, a moniker she relished, even if her bosses uttered it through clenched teeth. She built her record by targeting easy marks and steamrolling obstacles. For her, the emblem of duty served as a golden ticket to act without restraint. Peering over her foam coffee container, she sized up Terrell. She didn't know him, but she recognized his vibe. Assured, sharply attired, strident as if the building belonged to him. It grated on her. In her realm, folks ought to quiver in her presence. If they didn't, they were concealing truths, or worse, viewing themselves as superior. "Hey, Kowski!" Brenda grumbled to her sidekick, rookie David Kowski, who appeared barely out of his teens and jumped at his own footsteps. "Spot that fellow in the gray getup? The lanky one." Kowski peered closely. "The attorney. He doesn't look like one." Brenda snorted, crumpling her drained cup. "Attorneys don't tote briefcases like that. That's a drop bag. You know, dope, money. Take your pick." Brenda shoved away from the barrier, adjusting her equipment belt. "Time to chat." Terrell pored over his documents detailing the durability of the planned community facility when a figure loomed across his pages. Lifting his gaze, he found a woman in uniform positioned invasively near, her fingers idly yet ominously close to her weapon. "How may I assist you, officer?" Terrell inquired evenly, his resonant bass tone that often earned deference amid work crews. "Identification," Brenda stated curtly. It wasn't a request, it was an order. Terrell's brow furrowed. He understood his entitlements, yet grasped the harsh dynamics at play. As a black man navigating a courthouse passage, stirring trouble seldom paid off. Deliberately, he dipped into his suit's interior pocket. "Slowly," Brenda snapped, her palm darting to her stun gun. Terrell halted. "I'm retrieving my wallet as you've instructed, officer." He extracted the card and extended it. Brenda grabbed it, flipping between the details and his features repeatedly. She hunted for leverage, A violation, a revocation, some discrepancy in residency. Anything to humble him. Tyrell Banks, she announced derisively, twisting the name into scorn. What's inside the case, Banks? Plans, Tyrell replied. I'm an architect, with a zone and hearing in Courtroom 302 at 9 a.m. Plans, Brenda echoed, a sly grin curling her mouth. Fresh excuse, face the wall, palms flat. Excuse me? Tyrell's composure started to crack. Am I under arrest? What's the justification? I said wall, hands! Brenda's tone escalated, crafted to attract eyes, to shame him publicly. You match a suspect from a break-in 2 streets away, tall, dark outfit, bag in tow. It was fabrication, a sloppy, obvious one. The robbery report had arrived an hour earlier, pinning it on a youth in a sweatshirt. Tyrell was an adult in formal attire. Officer, Tyrell declared, rooting his stance. I'm not complying. My court appearance is in 10 minutes. If you're taking me in, proceed, but expect questions from the judge about detaining the primary designer of the city's latest public initiative. Kowski, the novice, edged closer with evident unease. Perhaps we ought to verify with dispatch once more, Brenda, Kowski suggested hesitantly. The suspect's description was... Quiet, Kowski, Brenda snapped under her breath. She invaded Tyrell's space, her face mere inches from his necktie. You believe a fancy outfit shields you from trouble. I could wreck your schedule, Banks. Delay that court appearance. Have you charged with resisting arrest, disorderly behavior, and interfering with police before you even realize it? I don't doubt your ability, Tyrell replied coolly, his gaze unwavering. But you won't follow through. He pivoted away from her and headed straight for the courtroom's double entrance. The move was a blatant dismissal. He simply departed. Brenda froze in place, her cheeks burning with fury. Her command had been defied right in front of her novice partner and a crowd of spectators in the corridor. A pulse hammered in her temple. You've crossed a line, pal, she muttered to herself. She fished out her radio, but held it without activating it. Just for show. Then her eyes shifted to Kowski. He attacked me. Kowski's mouth fell open in shock. What? No way, he only walked off. He barely grazed me. That's battery on an officer. Brenda fabricated, her stare wild. Let's haul him in there. Brenda, hold on. That's a courtroom. We can't just barge in. It's under my authority. Kowski, come with me. Driven by pride and utter disregard for repercussions, Brenda Hatcher stormed toward the courtroom entrance. She'd pulled this stunt multiple times in the past. She'd yank him out, slap on the cuffs, process him at the station, and even if the accusations fell apart later, he'd forfeit his hearing and endure a night behind bars. Point made. She shoved through the sturdy oak panels of Courtroom 302, oblivious to the fact that presiding from the bench was the esteemed Judge Harrison Sterling. And Harrison Sterling was enduring a truly rotten morning. The vast chamber of Courtroom 302 carried the scent of citrus cleaner and aged documents. The AC unit droned on, countering the sweltering Chicago summer. At 60, with his graying locks and a gaze weathered by countless displays of human error, Judge Harrison Sterling occupied the raised dais, massaging his forehead. Renowned as a strict adherent to legal statutes, he tolerated no courtroom drama. At the moment, he was enduring a monotonous debate over suburban boundary disputes. Glancing at the schedule, he noted the upcoming case, City Zoning Commission against Banks Construction. Truth be told, he anticipated it with interest. He held a fondness for design work and had caught positive buzz about this Banks individual. Terrell Banks slipped into the room without fanfare. He offered a polite dip of the head to the bailiff, the imposing and unflappable Mina, who'd overseen these proceedings for 2 decades. Mina returned the gesture discreetly. Routine understood. Terrell settled at the respondent's station, setting his briefcase aside. He straightened his collar, forcing the hallway tension to ebb. Composure was essential, professionalism paramount. The doors flew open with a thud. No decorum in the arrival, just an intrusion. Officer Brenda Hatcher advanced boldly up the middle walkway, her footwear echoing sharply on the polished hardwood. The inexperienced Kowski followed reluctantly, as if hoping the ground might swallow him. The low hum of conversation in the room ceased abruptly. The attorney mid-argument halted, words trailing off. Judge Sterling slid his spectacles down his nose and fixed his stare over the edge. "Officer, is there some crisis?" For a brief instant, Brenda bypassed the judge, her focus pinned on the rear of Terrell's skull. She proceeded directly to the barrier dividing spectators from the proceedings area. "Tyrell Banks," she bellowed. Tyrell squeezed his eyes shut momentarily, drawing a steady breath before swiveling in his seat. "Officer Hatcher, on your feet," Brenda ordered, freeing her restraints from her belt. "You're being detained." A shared gasp echoed through the assembly. A wave of stunned silence washed over the observers. Judge Sterling brought his gavel crashing down, the sound sharp as a rifle shot. "Pardon me, officer." Brenda glanced toward the bench, irritated by the delay. "Your Honor, I must secure this individual. It won't require long." "You are disrupting proceedings of the Cook County Circuit Court," Sterling intoned, his tone laced with menace. "You cannot storm inside and issue demands for custody. Who exactly is this person?" "Tyrell Banks," Brenda declared, jabbing an accusatory digit his way. "He's wanted for theft, and he just attacked an officer out in the hall." "I'm bringing him in." Tyrell rose deliberately. "Your Honor, that's false." "Be silent," Brenda barked, lunging across the rail to seize his wrist. "Bailiff," Judge Sterling thundered. Mina, the bailiff, surged forward with unexpected agility despite his build. He positioned himself as a barrier between Brenda and Tyrell, thwarting her grasp. "Officer, back off." Brenda shot Mina a venomous look. "Move aside. I'm handling my duties. This jerk believes he can shove a cop and stroll free." Judge Sterling inclined toward the edge. Tension thickened the atmosphere, electric and taut. "Officer, come to the bench immediately." Brenda let out an exasperated breath, rolling her eyes in a way that caught the judge's sharp attention, then pushed the gate aside with a forceful swing. She strode to the bench, still munching on her gum without a second thought. "Give me your name and badge number," Sterling ordered curtly. "Officer Brenda Hatcher, badge 4922, she replied. "Listen, Judge, I hate to interrupt your zoning discussion, but this man's a real threat. He matches the profile of someone involved in a smash-and-grab robbery. When I moved to detain him, he physically pushed me aside and bolted." Sterling turned his eyes to Terrell. "Mr. Banks, did that happen?" "Absolutely not, Your Honor." Terrell responded evenly, even as his pulse raced wildly in his chest. "I was in the corridor going over my architectural plans. Officer Hatcher came up and insisted on seeing my identification, which I showed her right away. She said I resembled a suspect. I questioned her about probable cause, and she started making threats. I explained I was due in a hearing and simply left. I didn't lay a hand on her. "That's a bunch of lies," Brenda cut in sharply. "They're all liars, Your Honor. You know how it works." Sterling shifted his focus to the rookie, lingering uncertainly near the gate. "You, the partner, come here." Kowski hesitated, his body stiffening. He glanced at Brenda, who fixed him with a fierce, silencing stare that screamed, "Stay quiet." Then his gaze flicked to the judge, whose influence could ruin a career in an instant. Swallowing nervously, Kowski approached the bench. "Name?" Sterling asked. "Officer David Kowski, sir, Your Honor." "Officer Kowski," Sterling continued, easing back in his seat. "Did you see the supposed assault?" The courtroom fell quiet, broken only by the faint drone of the AC unit. Kowski's eyes darted to Tyrell, the suited professional who appeared scared yet composed. Then to Brenda, his field training officer meant to guide him through the perils of patrol. I, Kowski stuttered. "Louder, young man," Sterling urged, his tone easing slightly, like a subtle offer of mercy. "Truth only stings when you bury it." Kowski gulped down his fear. "He brushed past her, Your Honor." Brenda's face lit up with a smug grin, but Kowski pressed on, his words faltering. "He didn't push her hard. He was just heading for the door. She was in his path." Brenda's head snapped toward him. "Kowski, what are you even saying?" The room went dead silent. Sterling brought the gavel down once more. "Officer Hatcher, one more interruption, and I'll hold you in contempt." He fixed his steely, assessing stare on her again. "Officer Hatcher, you say he matches the robbery suspect's description. Care to share it? Tall, black male, dark outfit, with a bag." Brenda stated assuredly. "Understood," Sterling replied. He reached for a folder on his desk. "Mr. Banks is tall, yes, black, yes, dressed in a dark gray suit. But here's the thing, I keep a police radio on in my chambers, tuned in during breaks. The report for that Fifth Avenue smash and grab called out a guy in a red hoodie and blue jeans. Does Mr. Banks have on a red hoodie?" For the first time, Brenda's assurance wavered. "Suspects switch outfits all the time, Your Honor." "And he's got that bag. Could be hiding the loot inside." "This one." Tyrell raised his leather briefcase slightly. "Open it up," Brenda shot back. "I dare you not to." "He won't be doing that absent a warrant," Sterling interjected firmly. "Officer, you're on a fishing expedition right here in my court, dragging my bailiff into it as chum. No probable cause, and your assault claim is shaky. Your own partner won't stand fully behind it." "I've got qualified immunity," Brenda retorted, her anger surging to the forefront. "And the right to hold him for questioning." "You don't get to dictate police procedure, Judge. I'm hauling him in. If that bothers you, ring up the captain." She pivoted dismissively from the bench and fumbled for her cuffs once more, advancing on Tyrell. "Banks, hands behind your back, now!" "Officer Hatcher," Sterling bellowed. "Hands off him. You're under arrest." "The hell I am!" Brenda fired back, seizing Tyrell's arm and yanking it sharply. Tyrell grimaced in pain as his briefcase slipped free, sending blueprints fluttering everywhere. "Mina!" Sterling barked. The bailiff moved swiftly, clasping Brenda's shoulder. "Brenda, release him!" the judge ordered. "No, get off me!" Brenda shrieked, whirling to thrust the bailiff away. It wasn't aggressive, but it was contact all the same. She'd laid hands on a court official. Everyone in the room went stock still. Brenda knew her mistake the instant she pulled away from Mina's torso. The hush was total. Judge Sterling rose to his feet. He wasn't shouting now. His calm tone chilled the air. "Officer Hatcher," he stated, "you've just assaulted a court officer, right in front of the bench." He grabbed me first," Brenda faltered, retreating a step. "I was making an arrest." "You ignored a judge's direct command," Sterling countered, "and you've thrown this hearing into utter disarray." He glanced at the court reporter. "Everything on record." "Yes, Your Honor," she confirmed, her fingers flying over the keys. "Excellent." Sterling's eyes locked onto Brenda. Judge Sterling declared, "Officer Brenda Hatcher, you're in direct criminal contempt of court. Mina, place her under arrest." Brenda let out a shaky, disbelieving chuckle. "Arrest me? I'm a police officer right here in this courtroom." "You're the accused now," Sterling shot back. "Mina, secure her with cuffs." Mina unclipped the handcuffs from his belt loop. "Face the wall, Brenda." "This has to be a joke," she snarled, turning her gaze to Kowski. "Back me up! They're hauling off a fellow cop!" Kowski remained rooted in place, arms limp, eyes fixed on the ground. "Kowski!" she yelled. "The rookie's wise enough to dodge a collapsing structure," Sterling remarked. "So, Officer Hatcher, you can cooperate peacefully, or we'll tack on charges for resisting." Brenda glanced at Tyrell, who was massaging his sore wrist. Then at the judge, then at the spectators in the benches, all capturing the scene on their phones. Rage contorted her features into a venomous glare. "Big error. Enormous mistake. You'll pay for this, Sterling." She cleared her throat roughly. "I've got connections. I know your address." The words lingered like poisonous fumes. Sterling's gaze sharpened. Was that a threat against a judge in session? "Only pointing out," Brenda hissed, "that karma's real." "True enough," Sterling responded coolly. "And she's shown up ahead of schedule. Mina, escort her to lockup. No bond until I check the corridor video." "What video?" Brenda stiffened. "The building got upgraded with crystal-clear audio-video systems just last week," Sterling explained with a wry grin. "The entire hallway's on tape. If you fabricated that assault claim, Officer Hatcher, contempt will be the smallest issue you'll face." Brenda's complexion faded to ashen, the blood rushing from her face like water down a drain. Mina snapped the cuffs around her wrists with a sharp, echoing snap. As they dragged her out, her kicking and cursing filling the air, Tyrell Banks observed in silence, seeing the woman who'd aimed to destroy him, pulled through the same entrance she'd stormed earlier. Yet this marked no conclusion. It was merely the initial flare that would set off the explosive cache. Brenda Hatcher wasn't a lone corrupt officer. She represented a whole tainted network, and she wouldn't fall without dragging others with her. Once the door closed, Judge Sterling turned to Tyrell. "Mr. Banks, my regrets for the disruption. Collect your documents, please." Tyrell crouched to retrieve his blueprints, his fingers trembling a bit. He met the judge's eyes. "Appreciate it, Your Honor." "Save your thanks," Sterling warned, his expression somber. "She's got influential allies. This fight's far from finished." And he proved correct. Before long, officers from the precinct would overrun the courthouse. The detention area beneath the Cook County Courthouse served to erode all sense of self-respect. It resembled a drab, flaking concrete enclosure in dull gray, reeking of disinfectant and hopelessness. For a decade and a half, Officer Brenda Hatcher had been the enforcer slamming folks into such confines. She'd scoffed at their begging. She'd ridiculed their sobs. Now she stalked the cramped 6x8 space, her untied boots scraping against the floor. They'd stripped her of her belt, her shield, and her laces. She felt exposed, but worse, a seething fury boiled within her like molten lava. "You have no right," she bellowed at the surveillance lens in the ceiling corner. "Recognize me. I'm the law." Silence replied, broken only by the harsh hum of the lights above. Meanwhile, tension choked the air in Judge Harrison Sterling's private office. Tyrell Banks perched on a plush visitor's seat, clutching his thighs tightly. The zoning case had been delayed, freeing him on personal recognizance. Yet he lingered in the structure. He had no choice. Beyond the sturdy oak entrance to the judge's sanctum, trouble brewed. "Grasp the seriousness here, Mr. Banks," Sterling advised, filling 2 tumblers from a glass pitcher. He passed one over. "What you saw was a seismic change. Officers aren't collared like that. Not on the spot. The department will swarm like disturbed wasps. All I crave is returning to Linda," Tyrell replied, exhaustion lacing his tone. "None of this was my choice." "Understood," Sterling agreed, settling into his expansive oak workstation. "But you're the observer, the injured party. At this moment, you're the sole barrier keeping Officer Hatcher from walking free." Abruptly, the chamber door burst inward, unannounced. A hulking figure dominated the threshold. Broad-shouldered, with a bull-like neck and features rough-hewn like weathered stone. He sported a crisp white uniform shirt, bearing gold captain's insignia. Captain Richard O'Malley, commander of the 21st District, the iron-fisted overseer of State Street. Flanking him stood a pair of uniformed men, fingers near their holsters, scowling inside. "Leave now," Judge Sterling commanded, eyes glued to his files without lifting his head. "We need a conversation, Harry," Ali growled as he entered the room and slammed the door closed. He fixed Tyrell with a look of utter contempt. "Who's this guy?" "The defendant." "No, he's the complainant," Sterling clarified, finally raising his gaze to meet O'Malley's. "His name's Mr. Banks, and you, Richard, are intruding in my private office." Ali bent forward over the desk, resting his burly, calloused fists on the surface. "Enough with the nonsense, Harry. You've thrown one of my top officers behind bars. She's got 15 years on the force. You shamed her right there in a packed courtroom. Care to explain what you imagine you're accomplishing?" "I'm enforcing the rules," Sterling replied evenly. "Something your officer seems to have overlooked." "She slipped up," Ali snapped. "She's got fire in her veins. She believed she spotted a criminal. You don't jail a cop for taking initiative. Let her go immediately. Dismiss the contempt accusation. Wipe her slate clean, and we'll call it even. No damage done. No damage." Tyrell interjected, catching even himself off guard. Ali spun toward him sharply. "Keep quiet, buddy. You're fortunate you're not locked up yourself for attacking a police officer." "He didn't attack anybody," Sterling retorted, his tone sharpening. "And I've got eyewitnesses to back that up." "Eyewitnesses?" Ali chuckled harshly, a brittle, mocking sound. "You talking about Kowski, the newbie? I just spoke with Officer Kowski out there. He's all mixed up now. Thinks perhaps he didn't perceive everything accurately. Heat of the action, right? He's prepared to file a revised report." A cold shiver crept along Tyrell's back. This was the system in motion. The coercion, The bullying, the unbreakable code of loyalty among cops, banding together to shield one of their own, whatever the price. Kowski was under duress. "That comes across as interfering with a witness, Richard," Sterling remarked, his stare intensifying. "Call it standard procedure," Ali shot back. "Listen, Harry, this city's a team effort. You rely on us for arrests. We depend on you for search orders. If you pick a fight with the 21st, next thing you know your files vanish. Bailiffs call in ill. Security for judges might lag." It was an overt warning. Judge Sterling rose to his feet deliberately. Though he was only half O'Malley's build, he suddenly towered like a giant. "Are you intimidating an active circuit judge inside his own office, Captain?" "I'm merely describing reality," Ali sneered. "Now hand over Hatcher." Sterling opened a drawer in his desk. Ali jerked back instinctively, his fingers edging toward his hip. But Sterling simply retrieved a compact black USB drive. "You figure this is my debut showdown, Richard?" Sterling inquired softly. "I anticipated your arrival. I figured you'd lean on the rookie. That's why just 10 minutes back I instructed the court tech to pull the surveillance clips from the corridor and the courtroom. I've sent duplicates to the state's prosecutors team, the FBI's rights enforcement unit," and Sterling hesitated for emphasis, the Chicago Tribune. O'Malley's complexion drained from crimson to a pallid gray. "You shared proof with journalists. It's all on official logs." Sterling offered a faint grin. "Plus, the recording's crystal clear. Full sound quality, Richard. Crystal clear sound. It records Officer Hatcher confessing to Kowski that she invented the attack claim. It shows her labeling Mr. Banks as a mark prior to making contact, not an error." A setup. Ali gaped at the USB drive. Pulsing veins stood out on his throat. He understood the fallout from footage like that. Amid today's heated debates, it wouldn't merely cost Hatcher her badge. It could spark a full review of the whole station. It could ruin careers. "You're faking it," O'Malley muttered. "Tune into the updates," Sterling suggested, gesturing at the wall-mounted television. Ali snatched the remote and switched it on. A urgent alert scrolled at the bottom. "Local judge mandates officer's detention in intense court incident." The anchor was mid-report. Insiders indicate the footage flat-out disputes the official police account. Ali let the remote slip from his grasp. He glanced at Tyrell, then Sterling. The balance of control had flipped. The aggressor had taken a solid hit. "This ain't finished," O'Malley seethed. "Keep your eyes peeled, Banks. You too, Judge. Things go wrong sometimes." "Leave my office," Sterling commanded, "or I'll summon the U.S. Marshals to drag you out." Ali pivoted and charged away, banging the door with such force that the certificates on the wall shook. Tyrell exhaled a breath he'd been unaware of retaining. "Thanks, Your Honor. You pulled me out of the fire." "I've only gained us a breather," Sterling replied, collapsing into his seat, appearing drained in an instant. But Ali nailed one point. This is a battle, and battles always sacrifice honesty first. We must ensure your background's impeccable, Mr. Banks, since they'll scour every corner of your existence for leverage. Tyrell dipped his head. My record's pristine. I design community centers and educational buildings. I've got no secrets. We all carry a shadow, Sterling said under his breath. Fingers crossed yours isn't deep enough to drown you. 2 hours afterward, Tyrell occupied a modest cafe just 3 blocks away from the courthouse. He had company. Across the table sat Robert "Rob" Gentry, a prominent civil rights lawyer suggested by Tyrell's wife, Linda. Rob cut an impressive figure, with his wire-rimmed glasses and a razor-sharp intellect. He was poring over a tablet, reviewing the leaked video from the courtroom. "This is pure dynamite, Tyrell," Rob remarked, disbelief etched on his face as he shook his head. "Absolute dynamite. She attacked the bailiff right on video. She confessed to racial profiling. Judge Sterling deserves praise for putting her behind bars." "Captain O'Malley issued threats against us," Tyrell replied, taking a sip of his plain black coffee to steady his trembling fingers. "He warned that accidents occur. O'Malley's a relic from another era." Rob shot back with a wave of his hand, even as his gaze remained intense. "He's just attempting to intimidate you. But we've got an issue here." He paused briefly. "What kind of issue?" "The recording ends abruptly," Rob explained, pointing at the display. "Check this out. It's the clip Sterling shared. It captures the courtroom action and the arrest itself. However, the hallway segment, where she confronted you, is blurry with distorted sound." Tyrell's brow furrowed. "But Sterling claimed the sound was crystal clear. Sterling must have been bluffing to throw O'Malley off," Rob concluded. "Examine this closely." He rotated the tablet toward Tyrell. "That hallway camera is outdated. No built-in audio. Lacking clear sound, the department could insist you acted aggressively. They might say you uttered some provocative remark. It all boils down to conflicting accounts about why she approached you initially. If they can validate that first encounter, they might contend the courtroom chaos stemmed from you defying a legitimate directive." A sinking feeling hit Tyrell in the gut. "So if they establish she was justified in stopping me, then her taking me into custody holds up?" "In theory, sure," Rob admitted. "Or at minimum it clouds the case sufficiently to land her a reduced sentence and retain her position. Our goal is to demonstrate her bias existed even prior to engaging with you." Tyrell massaged his forehead. "There was a vending machine nearby." "Come again." "Right there in the hallway," Tyrell elaborated, shutting his eyes to summon the memory. "She lounged against it, chatting with the rookie officer. I watched her crumple a cup in her fist." Rob edged closer. "As an architect, I've got the inside track. I handled the structural upgrades for the adjacent annex a couple of years back, so I'm familiar with the wiring schematics." Tyrell's eyes widened suddenly. "That vending machine isn't merely for snacks. It's a high-tech unit with a security camera for purchases and a mic for voice commands to assist those with visual challenges." Rob's jaw dropped. "Are you suggesting the soda dispenser possibly captured their exchange?" "It's wired independently," Tyrell noted, his technical mindset kicking in. "Not linked to the courthouse's surveillance system. A private firm operates it, so the cops likely overlooked erasing its logs. They don't control it." Rob smacked the table in excitement, a broad smile breaking through. "Tyrell, you're brilliant. Securing that footage would reveal precisely what she instructed the rookie before targeting you. But speed is essential. If O'Malley catches wind of this, that unit breaks down before we blink." "Who operates these machines?" Tyrell inquired. Rob was already punching keys on his phone. "A firm named Vendor-Tech, headquartered in Joliet. I'm reaching out to a judge for an urgent hold order this instant. Head over to the courthouse annex and keep an eye on that device. No contact, just ensure no one tampers with it." "I can't return there," Tyrell protested. "The police would cuff me the moment I show up." "Not if you've got protection." A voice interjected from behind. They swiveled to find Mina, the bailiff, standing there. He was dressed casually in a flannel shirt and jeans, but his build still resembled a fortress. "Mina," Terrell said in surprise. "What's brought you here?" "Sent by Judge Sterling," Mina replied in his deep tone. "He anticipated you'd require support. He's tied up with reports on Hatcher, but he instructed me. Mina, ensure Mr. Banks avoids any mishaps with stairs." Warmth flooded Tyrell at the gesture. "Mina, we've got to access the vending unit on the 3rd floor." "Let's move," Mina agreed. "I'm on my break anyway, and I can't stand oppressors." The journey back to the courthouse bristled with anxiety. Terrell, Rob, and Mina slipped in via the annex's side entrance to dodge the throng of reporters swarming the main steps. They ascended to the 3rd level, where the corridor hung in unnatural silence. Remnants of yellow caution tape fluttered by the courtroom entrance from the prior disturbance. And there stood the vending machine, a brightly lit beacon of snacks and energy drinks. "It's powered on," Terrell murmured softly. "All right," Rob spoke into his phone. "I've got Vendor iTech's legal team connected. They can pull the cloud data from afar, but first they require the serial number from the rear panel." Mina advanced. "I'll handle it." With ease, he hoisted the hefty appliance forward like it weighed nothing. "Recite it for me," he urged through gritted teeth. Terrell peered at the metallic label. "VT 499 2024 CI. "Perfect," Rob confirmed over the call. "Did you catch that?" "Affirmative." "Secure it immediately. Transfer the file straight to my encrypted server." "Understood, right away." Abruptly, the elevator doors at the far end of the corridor slid open with a chime. David Kowski emerged, his face ashen and drenched in sweat. Trailing him was a civilian in a tool vest, lugging a satchel of equipment. Kowski halted abruptly upon spotting Terrell, Mina, and the attorney clustered near the vending machine. "Hey!" Kowski yelled, his tone fracturing. "Back off from that unit." "Private equipment," Rob fired back, brandishing his phone. "We're merely grabbing a Snickers bar, officer. Is that illegal?" The worker in the vest glanced toward Kowski. "You told me the unit was malfunctioning, officer. You said I had to extract the hard drive." Terrell eyed Kowski closely. The novice had clearly been dispatched to eliminate the proof. O'Malley must have spotted the vulnerability, or perhaps Brenda had recalled the device. "It is faulty," Kowski fibbed, fumbling for his radio. "This zone is an active crime scene. Vacate the area." Mina lowered the unit with a resounding thump. He folded his arms across his chest. "The tape's up ahead, Dave. This is open access, and that repairman isn't laying a finger on it without proper authorization." "Mina, stand aside," Kowski begged, his gaze flicking nervously. "You don't want any part of this." "O'Malley's out for blood. I'm already entangled," Mina replied with a hint of sorrow. "You're a solid young officer, Kowski. Don't go through with it. Don't wipe out evidence on her behalf. She wouldn't even bother to save you from flames." Kowski wavered. His eyes shifted to the machine, then to Tyrell. "Downloads in progress," Rob murmured to Tyrell. "Halfway there." "Officer," Tyrell interjected, advancing a step. "I noticed you in the courtroom. You were itching to come clean. It showed in your expression. Don't allow them to drag you down into crime. If that repair guy contacts this unit, you're complicit in a serious felony, tampering with evidence. Is Officer Brenda Hatcher really worth jail time?" Kowski's fingers trembled above his radio. Just allow the repairman to finish, he muttered. Please. 70%, Rob hissed. No, Mina declared resolutely. The elevator chimed once more. This arrival brought no greenhorn. Captain Richard O'Malley exited, escorted by a pair of uniformed deputies. He assessed the situation in a flash. The attorney, the device in hand, the vending unit. He grasped the full picture. Confiscate that phone, O'Malley bellowed, jabbing a finger at Rob. Detain every one of them. The deputies charged ahead. Transfer finished, Rob hollered, tapping the transmit key moments before a deputy slammed into him. The phone spun across the tiles. Mina positioned himself before Tyrell, palms raised. Captain, you're making an error. Restrain the bailiff as well, O'Malley snarled, his features twisted in rage. That's interfering with justice. The corridor exploded into turmoil. Tyrell got slammed into the wall. Mina grappled with a pair of officers. Rob lay face down, subdued. You believe you're clever. O'Malley approached Tyrell, clutching his suit jacket. Think a simple upload will protect you? I control this place. O'Malley fished a taser from his pocket and jammed it to Tyrell's torso. Resisting, he snarled. The shock hit. Tyrell's vision flashed brilliant, then nothingness. He collapsed, body spasming wildly. Haul them to the station, O'Malley commanded, looming over Tyrell's seizing form. Not the local lockup, the 21st District. We'll handle intake there. His gaze turned to Kowski, frozen in shock. Kowski, O'Malley said icily. Demolish that vending machine. Get me the drive. As Tyrell was pulled off, awareness flickering, he watched Kowski grab a fire extinguisher. He saw the rookie hoisted above the machine's transparent panel, but Tyrell grinned. O'Malley had missed his chance. The data was safely uploaded, and Rob Gentry had distributed it widely. The conflict had escalated to total war. Tyrell Banks regained awareness in sharp, agonizing bursts. The scent of old brew and burnt air assaulted him. He attempted to shift his arm, but chains rattled. Handcuffs bound him to an iron table in a space straight out of a cop show. Interrogation at the 21st Precinct, but all too genuine for the one enduring it. His torso throbbed from the taser's bite. He raised his eyes. Captain Richard O'Malley sat opposite, idly sharpening his nails with a compact blade. The offhand menace was deliberate. Good to have you conscious again, Mr. Banks, O'Malley rumbled. I demand my attorney, Tyrell rasped. His mouth felt like sandpaper. Your attorney's tied up right now, charged with attacking an officer, O'Malley replied without glancing up. And your pal Mina, the turncoat, he's tossed in with the drunks, surrounded by types who despise court guards. You can't pull this off, Tyrell protested, battling the fear swelling inside. Witnesses observed the takedown. Folks interpret things to suit themselves, O'Malley countered. He rose and flung a folder onto the surface. Here's the deal. You endorse this confession. It details how you turned aggressive back at the courthouse. The document claims that you and your attorney plotted to vandalize private property, specifically the vending machine, and when police stepped in to stop you, you fought back. Sign it. Agree to a minor charge, and you'll walk out to rejoin your wife. Refuse, and we'll discover narcotics in your vehicle. O'Malley explained matter-of-factly. We'll uncover child exploitation material on your office computer. We'll entomb you so thoroughly that when you finally claw your way free, your marriage will be over, your professional credentials stripped away, and you'll be too aged to care. Tyrell fixed his gaze on him, stunned by the sheer, effortless depth of the rot. It was staggering. "You're scared," Terrell murmured softly. O'Malley tensed up. "What did you say?" "You're scared," Terrell said again, his tone growing firmer. "You skipped booking us at the courthouse because the judges there aren't under your thumb. You dragged us to this place since it's your stronghold. But the defenses are breached." Captain O'Malley leaned close, his features just a breath away from Terrell's. "In this area, I embody the authority." 3 sharp raps echoed on the door. It swung open to reveal a sergeant, his complexion ashen. "Captain, you have to take a look at this." "I'm occupied," O'Malley barked sharply. "Captain, it's the media coverage." The sergeant pressed on. "Stations like Channel 5, Channel 7, even CNN." O'Malley's brow furrowed in irritation. He strode from the room, leaving the entrance slightly ajar. Terrell craned his neck, trying to catch the sounds. Out in the open office area, the oversized monitors blazed with urgent red alerts. "Breaking. Chicago. PD corruption exposed." The broadcast audio seeped into the questioning space. There was the recording, the one from the vending machine, sharp and unblurred. Brenda Hatcher's words echoed across the department, incriminating and impossible to refute. "Spot that fellow. The lanky guy. Attorneys don't tote briefcases like that. Let's approach and chat. I could ensure you skip your court session. He isn't an attorney. Make up an excuse. Kowski, choose something." Next came the young officer's reply. "Brenda, shouldn't we verify with Central Communications?" Brenda shot back. "Quiet. He's marked. His stride bothers me. We're nabbing him." A heavy quiet blanketed the station. Uniforms, desk staff, investigators, all halted their tasks. They stared at the display. Then their eyes shifted to O'Malley. He remained rooted in place. The video's timestamp indicated it went online 20 minutes earlier. Views had already surged past 3 million. The reporter on air continued. "We've obtained more alarming video showing a veteran captain deploying his stun gun on a detainee who seemed to be complying. This was broadcast live from the lawyer's device moments prior to his detention." O'Malley's color faded as realization hit. He never suspected Gentry was streaming in real time. He figured it was merely a recording being shared. The desk phone buzzed, followed by a second. Soon the central console erupted in flashing lines like holiday lights. "Captain," the sergeant murmured. "Mayor's office on hold 1, the department chief on 2, and internal review teams waiting in the foyer." O'Malley scanned the bustling area. The stares from his team were shifting. Loyalty gave way to survival instinct. They were distancing themselves. "Secure the entrances," O'Malley commanded, his words quivering with frantic intensity. "I mean it. Barricade the doors now," he bellowed, yanking his pistol free. "No entry, no exit. This precinct is mine." "Captain, that's not possible," O'Malley bellowed louder. The sergeant paused, then dashed toward the main doors, but instead of fastening them, he released the locks. "Betrayer!" O'Malley leveled his firearm. Abruptly, an alarm pierced the air just beyond the structure. Not the standard patrol wail, but the low, ominous pulse of official federal rigs. From his spot in the holding area, Terrell caught the uproar. A faint, bitter grin crossed his lips. Retribution wasn't merely striking. It was swinging a massive mallet. The roadway in front of the 21st District resembled a battlefield. But rather than troops, it teemed with news crews in parked rigs, demonstrators, and a row of dark SUVs bearing official tags. Special Agent Laura Cross emerged from the front vehicle. She straightened her jacket. the bold FBI lettering stark against the yellow rear panel. She thrived on dismantling graft. She'd toppled syndicates and crime lords. A bent precinct head was mere appetizer. She seized a bullhorn. "This is Special Agent Cross of the FBI," her amplified call reverberated, rebounding from the station's stone walls. "Captain Richard O'Malley, surrender now. You and your team are encircled. Federal orders demand the apprehension of you, Officer Brenda Hatcher and Officer David Kowski. Exit, peacefully, hands visible." Within the building, tension poisoned the air. O'Malley had fortified the central workspace, striding restlessly like a trapped beast. Many colleagues had scattered or ducked into changing areas, refusing to sync with him. Yet he clung to his advantage: the detainees. He burst back into the questioning chamber. His appearance was feral, collar loose, perspiration streaming. "On your feet," O'Malley demanded of Tyrell. "Has it ended?" Tyrell inquired steadily. "It ends only on my terms," O'Malley snarled. O'Malley released Tyrell's restraints from the table, but left them secured around his wrists. He seized the architect by the shirt and hauled him out into the corridor. Then he propelled Tyrell toward the station's entrance, positioning him as a shield against any threats. "Pull up the blinds," O'Malley bellowed into the deserted space. With no response, he unleashed a bullet into the overhead tiles. Plaster showered down. A frightened young cop, scrambling on all fours, finally reached the front window and jerked the coverings aside. The gathered crowd outside drew in a sharp breath. They now had a clear view of O'Malley pressing a pistol to Tyrell's temple. "Stay back," O'Malley bellowed through the barrier, "or the architect gets it." Agent Cross lifted her palm, directing the SWAT unit to withhold their shots. Marksmen perched on the neighboring rooftop fine-tuned their sights. Yet the vantage point proved awkward. O'Malley was well versed in the areas out of their line of fire. "Listen, Allie," Cross called out. "You've got nowhere to run. This is turning into a federal death sentence. Release him now." "Send a chopper," O'Malley hollered in reply. The demand felt absurdly cliched, even to him, driven solely by desperation. "Get me a plane out of the country and free Hatcher from that courthouse." From the dim corridor beyond the cells, a silhouette stepped forward. It was rookie David Kowski, clutching his issued firearm, though aimed downward. His gaze shifted from O'Malley to Tyrell. He caught the fear in Tyrell's expression, mingled with determination. "Captain," Kowski uttered, his tone unsteady. O'Malley snapped his head toward the sound, maintaining the weapon's pressure against Tyrell's head. "Kowski, join me here. Guard the rear exit." "No," Kowski replied. "What was that?" "I said no." Kowski advanced into the brighter area. Tears traced paths down his cheeks. "I can't keep this up. We're the villains here, Captain. The real villains." "I'm defending this department," O'Malley thundered. "Defending all of you. You're just saving your own skin," Kowski countered. He lifted his pistol, fingers quaking. "Lower your weapon, Captain. Free him. You lack the spine, kid." O'Malley mocked. "Always have." "Hatcher saw it in you." "Perhaps," Kowski said, wiping his nose. "But I'm no crook." "Drop it, Kowski, or I'll end this man and then you," O'Malley warned, grinding the muzzle deeper into Tyrell's forehead. Tyrell flinched silently. The moment stretched taut. Tyrell met Kowski's eyes. He didn't view a lawman there, just a young officer who'd erred gravely and now sought redemption. "Make the right choice," Tyrell murmured. Kowski inhaled sharply. He steadied his hold on the gun but held his fire at O'Malley, aware a stray shot could strike Tyrrell. Instead, he swung toward the expansive front pane, dividing them from the feds, and squeezed off 3 rounds. The window exploded in a cascade of shards. The divide vanished. "Move in! Move in!" Agent Cross yelled. As O'Malley reeled from the blast, a stun grenade arced inside and erupted mid-room. The flash seared eyes with intense brilliance, the shockwave toppling all present. Tyrrell hit the ground heavily, ears buzzing. O'Malley reeled, sightless, spraying bullets haphazardly upward. FBI operatives poured in through the breach, a rush of dark-clad figures. "Federal agents! Weapon down, down!" Stunned and sight-impaired, O'Malley fumbled to aim at the commands. Dull impacts followed. 3 beanbag projectiles struck his torso and gut. He crumpled, winded, the pistol clattering free. Officers swarmed him, binding his wrists with ties. Others rushed to Tyrrell. "Mr. Banks, any injuries?" Cross asked, slicing through his cuffs. I'm fine," Tyrrell managed, hacking amid the haze. "My colleagues, Rob, Mina, they're further in. We've got a unit locking down the rear," Cross assured, aiding him to his feet. Tyrrell scanned the chaos. O'Malley was being hauled away, cursing furiously. In the debris-strewn corner, Kowski sat slumped against the wall, hands raised, gun returned to its holster, braced for capture. Tyrrell approached unsteadily. Cross started to intervene, but he waved her off. Bending toward the rookie, he said, "You shattered that window." Kowski glanced up, eyes bloodshot. "I couldn't fire at him, but I could open the door for the real heroes." "You preserved my life," Tyrrell told him. "After I nearly destroyed it," Kowski responded with regret. "True enough," Tyrrell agreed. "You'll face consequences for that. But ultimately, you redeemed it." Cross interceded then. "Officer Kowski, you're under arrest for conspiracy and obstructing justice." As the cuffs clicked on, Kowski offered no resistance, his features easing into quiet acceptance. Tyrrell exited via the ruined entrance. Chicago's brisk wind refreshed his skin. The throng's cheers thundered, spotting Linda pushing past the barriers and under the cordon. He braced as she barreled into him, weeping and almost toppling them both. "I've got you," she gasped. "Right here with you," Tyrrell murmured softly, pressing his face into her hair. Moments afterward, Rob, Gentry, and Mina were escorted outside. Rob appeared rumpled, his suit ripped in places, yet he flashed a wild, triumphant smile. Mina seemed utterly unfazed, like routine raids on crooked police stations were just another weekday chore for him. "Did we pull it off?" Rob inquired, straightening his lopsided spectacles. Tyrrell glanced toward the precinct, buzzing with federal agents who were carting off laptops and documents. He watched as O'Malley was forced into the rear of a van. "We claimed victory in this fight," Tyrrell declared, "but the real struggle awaits in the courtroom. The arrest marks only the start." The blockbuster trial loomed ahead, and Brenda Hatcher, along with Richard O'Malley, had no intention of surrendering without a fight. Armed with hidden intel, they were set to torch the entire city if it meant their survival. 6 months on, the case of the people against Hatcher and O'Malley had Chicago in its unyielding grasp, much like a raging tempest. The courtroom overflowed with spectators in every available spot. Tyrrell Banks occupied a seat in the front, next to Linda. Freed from the shadow of suspicion, he now stood as a bearer of unvarnished reality. Brenda Hatcher bore little resemblance to her former iron-fisted self. Her bold assurance had evaporated, giving way to raw dread. Captain O'Malley, seated at her side, appeared gaunt and with sunken eyes. The decisive moment arrived as Davidkowski mounted the witness stand, clad in an orange prison uniform. His tone remained steady. "She declared Banks a mark," he stated under oath, "not for any crime he committed, but to seize control for herself." A heavy quiet settled over the room in the wake of his testimony. Following 3 days of jury discussions, the decision was handed down. Guilty across all charges. Brenda crumpled, overcome with sobs. O'Malley gazed blankly forward, utterly broken. At last, the scales of justice had tipped. 2 months afterward, Brenda drew a 15-year term behind bars. O'Malley got 30 years, no chance of early release. As guards hauled her off, Brenda snarled, "I hope this satisfies you." "I'm secure now," Tyrrell responded evenly, "and that's all that matters." Through a landmark payout, Tyrrell established a legal support hub in Southside Chicago. In the years that followed, addressing a vast audience, he delivered his words with quiet resolve. "They aim to strip away my liberty," he remarked, "yet truth endures unyielding. It forges strength." Right at 9 o'clock, he glanced at his timepiece. On this occasion, no barriers blocked his path. And so, a rotten institution fell apart. All because one individual wouldn't yield and submit to the commands. Tyrrell Banks demonstrated that no matter how daunting the challenges, honesty combined with some innovative tech savvy can topple even the mightiest foes. Brenda Hatcher and Captain O'Malley believed they embodied the rule of law, only to discover the bitter truth. Nobody escapes its reach.